Hey guys, Scott here again with a new beer dissection video. Going to be staying in Belgium today. What I have here is from Delirium, which is from, always mispronounce this, Hugie Brewery in Belgium. You may be familiar with Delirium Tremens. Delirium Tremens is a Belgian Golden Strong. It almost looks like a Pilsner style beer. Highly attenuated, highly carbonated. I've talked about it. I haven't done a beer review dissection on this yet. That's their popular one. Delirium also makes a Nocturum, which is like a darker, almost like a Belgian dark strong type of beer. But this is what they call Delirium Red in the red can. And most of them are in cans, at least that I've seen in the United States, because they are brought in by importers in the United States. This one I actually think was from Frederick, Maryland, the importer. So you have Nocturum, Tremens, and then this is red. And they may have other styles out there, but it is a Belgian style beer. It is basically, this one is like Delirium Tremens. And again, I'll try to have it pop over my shoulder. And what they do is they take the beer and they sit it on, probably in their secondary fermenter, on fresh cherries, okay, and elderberry, okay? Now, I'm not a big fan of fruit beer, okay, unless they're actually using real fruit, because if they don't use real fruit, sometimes it's too sweet. Sometimes if they're using artificial sweeteners, it has that medicinal type of aroma and taste to it. As far as I know, a lot in Belgium at least, they don't use any of the artificial sweeteners to that. And this one in particular, they're using cherry and elderberry. So think of some of your fruited lambics, similar type of thing, at least the ones that come from Belgium. They're taking the lambic beer or the goose, and they're sticking it on real fruit in a secondary fermenter for a period of time. So it gives a more natural type of flavor. They usually call it Oud Original, O-U-D-E. You'll see it on the bottles when you're talking about lambics. I don't want to go down the road too much of lambic beers, but this Delirium Red uses cherry and elderberry, and they put a beer similar to, again, Delirium Tremens or Belgian Golden Strong on there. So we're going to be expecting to see kind of like a dirty reddish color. When I say dirty, not in a necessarily bad sense, but a brownish reddish flavor color, maybe like a pink type of head on it. This is probably going to be highly carbonated. This one is at 8%, which is kind of sitting there right around Belgian Golden Strong, which would make sense since that's what I said. That's kind of the base beer that they use, at least what I've read about. But again, the brewery that specifically makes Delirium is H-U-Y-G-H-E, Hugie. Again, I'm probably killing that pronunciation. I apologize. I will have it most likely pop over my shoulder. You can see for yourself. Okay, so Delirium Red in the family of the Delirium beers, the red can. The Tremens is usually in a bluish can. They all have this pink elephant on there, if you see it. And Nocturum, I believe it's like it could be a purple can. But again, don't mark my words. But if you're in that Belgian section, take a look at it. But this is definitely worth looking into. All right, so let's open this bad boy open here. Okay, I'm going with, just for convenience, kind of my modified Spigaloo glass that you've seen me use before. Tulips would work fine too. Tulip pint glasses, things like that. Regular tulip, maybe a larger snifter glass. But this is going to be highly carbonated. So let's open this up. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's going to look like a artificial. It's going to, in the glass, it's going to almost look like an artificial cherry soda. Okay. I have to tell you, if you're skeptical and you are a frequent watcher of my videos, my wife is not. She picked me up this beer. She is not a big beer drinker at all. Okay, she's not actually a big drinker in general. I had another can of this and gave it to her, and she loves it. She had no idea that she loved it so much. So if you're really skeptical of this, I would maybe still check it out. And even if you're not into fruited beers, I would check it out. So let's take a look at this. As I expected, a nice pinkish, tight bubble, frothy head on there. The beer itself, depending on how it's coming up on video, on my end is kind of like it's red with like kind of a brownish, like if you put like brown food coloring in there just to kind of make it like a dark red, dark amber with like a reddish hue to it, okay? But definitely more red. You know, a little haze in there. You know, again, I don't know when they're putting it on the fruit, they may be getting some of the particulate and stuff that mix in there. And with the Belgian yeast strains, a lot of times too, you may get, you know, some extra haze to it, but that's fine, especially in this style of beer. Okay, so again, nice frothy head, reddish. Let's take a smell of this. Oh yeah, I mean, really nice and strong with the cherry, but not, again, I'm not, the elderberry, I had to look up elderberries again because I don't recall, I don't know if I could pick out elderberry, I have to admit, on certain things, but it's like a very small, like, it almost looks like pomegranates, a little larger than pomegranates on a stem, and a little bit more like a blackish purple kind of color, maybe like a bluish color to it, the cherry. But this is not, what's great about this, contrary to some of the other, again, I'm not, as I told you, I'm not a big fruit beer person. It's kind of not a medicinal, sugary, sugar candy cherry or cherry sugar type of aroma. It's a nice, basically like if you crushed up cherries, maybe put a touch of like a simple syrup with it and then like a soda, you know, like a plain seltzer. That's kind of what it smells like. The elderberry, I'm sure we're getting in there too. I have to admit, I'm not an expert in elderberry, like I just said, but very pleasant. I mean, it's really, really nice. Here it is again. You know, hops is not important here. I would be surprised it's even more than like 0 to 10 IBUs, International Bitterness Units. But definitely, you know, cherry aroma to it. But again, not overpowering like they try too hard putting the like an artificial cherry sweetener. Now I've brewed and I've used raspberry extracts before, and it makes it smell medicinal and not as pleasant. This again is a more original. So cheers, guys. Actually, let me smell one more time for a second. But yeah, this kind of subtle, you know, cherry flavor. And I say subtle, it is prominent. When I say subtle, it's not like artificial medicinal type of aroma to it. Okay, cheers. Yeah, ooh. Highly carbonated, kind of light to medium mouthfeel. Again, you get hit with the cherry. There's some residual sweetness in there, no doubt, and probably from some of the juices off the cherries and elderberry. But again, not medicinal type, a very, very natural cherry flavor. Again, I've had it swirling in my glass for several minutes. It's still got a good pronounced bite to the carbonation. As I let it sit here, you know, the cherry dies out a little bit. Again, in a kind of a good way, because you don't want to feel like you're sucking on a candied cherry. You just kind of want that nice, and it's slightly tart, little acidity from there. You know, again, we're talking about some fruits. I don't know how long they've had it sit on there. Sometimes the pits from some of the fruit will give it a little bit of a slight astringency. I don't get too much of that, maybe a tiny bit. Maybe that's where some of that tartness is coming from. But this is very nice and balanced. You know, I sometimes talk about pairings. You know, I'd use this with some blank canvas type of desserts like either panna cotta, flan with a little caramel sauce, the custard of the flan, the panna cotta, which with the plain custard type of sauce, the cherry would go very well with that. Even some chocolate desserts with fudge. Think of chocolate covered cherries, things like that, or even raspberry, not raspberry, but like strawberry kind of taste, even though there's no strawberries in this. That would go well with. Even some, I think this would go great at Thanksgiving, you know, with the cherries and things like that. Think of like your cranberry sauces, the elderberry, the cherry with turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, things like this. And has enough carbonation too to cut through a lot of things like that with the gravies and other stuff like that. But again, I couldn't recommend this enough. And if you like more sour type of cherry, look for the Kriek. Remember, Kriek is the lambic beer. Kriek is cherry in Flemish, I believe. K-R-I or K-R-E-I-K. Could be misspelling it, but it's definitely I-E or E-I-K. That's cherry in Flemish. You'll see those in lambics a lot. Lindemans makes one, which it's very sweet. This is not as sweet as that. And again, that's a lambic beer. That's gonna have more sourness to it. This does not have much. Has a little, I would just say a little tartness to it, because there is some residual sweetness to it, but it's very pleasant drinking. And again, good carbonation to it. So again, I'll speak for myself, but I am not a person that puts fruit in his beer. I don't throw slices of fruit in my beer ever. I'll never take it out and throw it at someone, but this Delirium Red from, Delirium, but from, again, I'm not going to even try to pronounce them again. Hughie Brasserie, I think is how you pronounce the brewery, is the pronunciation, I believe, in Flemish for brewery. Again, I can completely be destroying their language. I apologize if any of you happen to be from Belgium. But you'll see that purple or pinkish, that pinkish elephant on Delirium Tremens, Delirium Nocturum, and Delirium Red. So anyway, guys, I highly recommend this. And until next time, have a great day. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.